From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
A celebration that's really popping.
Often people will say how happy it makes them, but my answer is always makes me happier.
How a North Dakota man is marking a popcorn making milestone. Tensions rise in Ukraine again, bringing more questions.
How much are they planting in Ukraine? That's the headline I keep thinking gets ignored a little bit.
How the war is continuing to impact wheat futures. And a reality check when it comes to inflation on the farm.
Even if agricultural prices do ease, food prices may not necessarily come down as quickly.
The potential longer-term impacts right now on AgDay. Good morning, I'm Michelle Rook. Clinton is on assignment. Rising prices are impacting every aspect of the food and agriculture supply chain right now, and that may not change dramatically through the balance of 2022, according to officials with the Federal Reserve Banks of Minneapolis and Kansas City. Now, the two held a symposium to look at the increased input costs on the farm, as well as higher food prices for consumers. Officials say these are consequences of recent upheavals in global commodity markets with the war in Ukraine and rising costs of food and processing, transportation, and labor shortages. Now, the outlook for input costs isn't expected to improve for the 2023 crop season, which will cut into farm profitability.
According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, farm production costs are expected to be about 25% higher this year in 2022 than they were in 2020. Fertilizer costs alone are anticipated to be on average about 50% higher than just 1 year ago.
Kaufman says from 2010 to 2020, food prices were up on average just 1.7% per year, but are up nearly 10% this past year. However, only 10% of that rise is due to higher commodity prices. The rest is due to higher costs associated with packaging, transportation, energy, processing, distribution, and food service. So even if there is a rebound in production, those other costs will remain high.
Even if agricultural prices do ease, food prices may not necessarily come down as quickly, given the importance of other factors that also affect the cost of food.
USDA is forecasting food inflation to fall from current levels, but the agency can't project just how much prices will cool because of the unknowns tied to the retailer and wholesaler costs, which get passed down to consumers. While food inflation here at home and around the world is still a big concern, world food prices are now the lowest they've been since February. That's according to the latest UN Food and Agriculture Price Index. The index declined to just above 136 last month. That's sharply below the record high of 159 hit in March and the lowest since the Russia invasion of Ukraine started. Prices declined sharply for vegetable oils, while the cost of wheat rose due to uncertainty about the Black Sea Grain Initiative signed between Russia and Ukraine.
European grain markets said maybe the corridor will not be closed down on November 22nd. Putin may be relenting a little on that, or maybe he's getting pushed into a corner to a degree. He doesn't have the manpower to defend it. But the UN and others are talking more favorably about the corridor. We'll see if it stays open. It's a political decision from Putin, but it's something to watch because Ukraine today has 65 vessels waiting to load. That's the most we've seen in a year and a half. So they are trying to get grain out.
At last report, 285 voyages under the agreement have been made from Ukrainian ports carrying more than 6 million tons of grain and other ag products. Meanwhile, UN officials continue to work to extend and expand the Black Sea Agreement. So far, they say they are not there yet, but are reasonably confident on an extension of the deal. But tensions are escalating between Russia and Ukraine after a new round of Russian strikes hit a Ukrainian city and a blast damaged a symbolic bridge linking a Moscow-controlled region of Ukraine with the Russian mainland. The developments pushing winter wheat futures to the highest levels since mid-July. And there's concern as well about the winter wheat crop in Ukraine this year, with numbers from the country's ag ministry showing the 2023 harvest is expected to be 3 times lower.
How much are they planting in Ukraine? That's the headline I keep thinking gets ignored a little bit. We talk about, will Russia allow their exports out? Will they continue this export corridor that ends in November? I mean, that's big news. I get it. But if they don't plant the acres, if they're planting half of their normal winter wheat crop, well, that's a big deal in Ukraine, because we just won't matter if we're exporting bushels or not. They just won't have the total bushel.
We'll talk more about the wheat crop in Ukraine and here at home coming up in Analysis. There is good news about the barge backup on the Mississippi River that has slowed U.S. grain exports. It appears to be clearing up. Bloomberg reports at one point there was a backup of more than 2,000 boats and barges. It's due to low water levels that created a bottleneck at places along the lower Mississippi. But over the weekend, the river had reopened at 2 choke points. Those are near Stock Island, Mississippi, and near Memphis, Tennessee. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers has been dredging near Stock Island to try to make water levels deeper. In Mississippi, the Coast Guard reports the line of barges and vessels north and south is down to fewer than 900.
AgDay weather, brought to you by AGI Nico. AGI Nico dryers have an average of 1 to 2 pounds heavier test weight per bushel than screen dryers. They can also save you 30% on average in fuel savings. That's money in your pocket. Visit aggrowth.com/Nico for more information.
It's the time of year for big swings temperature-wise. Meteorologist Matt Yurosavik joins us. Matt, you're tracking some cold fronts pushing through this week.
That's right, Michelle. We've got big swings in temperatures not only this week, but probably over the next month or two as the cooler air starts to filter in heading into the winter months. But take a look at this map. We've got warmer temperatures through the south, through the middle part of the country as well, 80 degrees all the way up in Minneapolis. But that cold front really starts to move that way heading into tomorrow morning. We're talking about Bismarck, Rapid City being in the upper 30s, some frost possible up in that area. And then even as we're heading into really on Wednesday, that's when temperatures in Minneapolis, Omaha starting to go down a little bit. And this is when that cold front's going to start to work its way on in. And temperatures behind that cold front, especially tomorrow morning, we could be looking at feels like temperatures in the 30s across the Rockies and in the parts of the north central United States. But we're also looking at frost and freeze through the latter half of the week. Behind that cold front that's going to move in, you're seeing areas of a really widespread frost all the way down into the Ohio Valley, parts of the upper Midwest, and eventually moving into the mid-Atlantic states and interior portions of New England as we head into the weekend. And then the cooler air lifts out for a little bit, comes back in full force next week. And cotton harvest means gin mills are up and running. Scott Sonnenberg sharing this video last week of their first day of operation in Spearman, Texas. But he says this is Oklahoma cotton they're running through right now. That's great to see. I'll have more on your forecast coming up.
Happening later today, the U.S. Supreme Court is scheduled to hear arguments in regards to California's Proposition 12. The High Court will determine the constitutionality of the state's animal housing law. The National Pork Producers Council and the American Farm Bureau Federation petitioned the court to look into it after appealing a lower court's decision that threw out their lawsuit. Proposition 12 was approved by California voters in 2018. Critics of it argue the law imposes regulations that reach far outside its borders and that it stifles interstate and international commerce. Supporters say the state has a right to set standards for products sold to its customers and consumers regardless of where they are produced. The Supreme Court has until the end of the term to come to a decision, and that might not happen until June of next year. Wheat led the rally on Monday, pulling corn over the $7 mark. We'll talk more about it coming up in Market Analysis. And later, a bag of popcorn that's about so much more than the tasty goodness inside in the country. Monday's market closes mixed in livestock, but higher in the grains, led by the wheat market. Joining us to visit about that is Tommy Gersafi with Advanced Trading. Wheat, the leader, pulling corn along, but certainly trying to put some more premium in. How much do we need to with current developments?
I've never seen anything like this. And to sit here and look in the camera and say, we're going to go up another 50 cents. I could tell you this, you could buy an option in corn $1 higher and it has a price. So these options are still trading 5,000-10,000 times sometimes in a day, and they expire in a few months. There's something cooking, and several clients have called me the last few days, and they say, what would happen if there was a nuclear bomb detonated? I said, well, I wasn't born the last time we detonated a nuclear bomb, so I'm not sure how this one will go. but I don't think it'd be good for the world. So
Yeah.
as we look at today's markets, it's very scary. I'd like to take some risk off on this rally and not take more risk, Michelle.
So we didn't get the nearby contract in corn to close above 7. We did get Kansas City wheat to close above 10. So those are objectives, though, that the market is watching, right?
Sure, but if you sell all your corn for $6.99 and all your wheat for $9.99, you're going to owe a lot of taxes. So don't let that last penny mess you up. I will say this, and you saw this also, an incredible amount of volume traded in the corn futures above 7. Above 7 was definitely a price where buyers and sellers got together, and some risk was taken and some risk was laid off above $7 today in Board of Trade futures.
Okay, and that did pull the soybeans along, but with harvest pressure, how much more can you expect to see that market go up?
Beans have no problem going along for the ride someday, but then the reality of it is that South America is getting ready to plant the world's largest bean crop, and it was just a few years ago that they started planting more beans.
Right.
Then Nelson, let me go on record and say they plant a lot more beans than us. A lot of eyes are going to be on South America, and if those bean acres come true and China demand here in America lessens a little bit, beans are overvalued, in my opinion, if those two things happen.
Okay, thanks for joining us, Tommy
Thank
Grisafi
you.
with Advanced Trading. More AgDay coming up.
Interested in spending a day with a trader? Call Tommy Grisafi at 800-664-4383. AgDay is brought to you by MetLife Investment Management's Agricultural Finance Group. MetLife Investment Management is positioned to help you grow your business with a competitive farm, ranch, and agribusiness loan. To learn more, visit investments.metlife.com/agriculture.
In with our national forecast, meteorologist Matt Yursavik, some very cold temperatures, even some hard freezes in some areas.
Yeah, we're talking about really the upper Midwest, northern plains, and then eventually some of that cooler air makes it all the way to the mid-Atlantic by the start of the weekend. And that cold front will be coming through the middle part of the week, getting through the upper Midwest on Tuesday into Wednesday, and then behind it heading into Thursday morning especially. That's when we're talking about potentially a hard freeze, those temperatures getting down close to that freezing mark, and eventually that cooler air starts to move towards parts of the Ohio Valley, the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes, dealing with a light freeze or even area-wide frost as far south as West Virginia and Kentucky. And then heading into Saturday morning, that front all the way off the East Coast. And now we've got some area-wide frost through central Pennsylvania, the mountains of West Virginia, eastern Ohio, and then interior portions of New England dealing with that as well. So the cooler air definitely following that front. And here's what that looks like on our jet stream. You can see that cooler air really starting to dip down heading into Thursday. Stays warmer across the south and into the west. Cool air kind of pulls back a little bit as we head into Saturday, stays up well into Canada, but there is another push of some cooler air that looks to be coming in through the beginning of next week, and that could bring some chilly temperatures, especially across the Great Lakes and the upper Midwest. We'll continue to keep an eye on that. But temperatures this afternoon, very warm across the south and right through the middle of the country. This is where we're going to see those big swings in temperatures behind that front. It starts by early tomorrow morning. We see the cooler air. Minneapolis drops to 35, upper 30s there from Rapid City to Bismarck, and then the cold front just getting ready to move on into the Minneapolis area tomorrow afternoon, but cooler air starting to spread into the country. And you can already see one area of low pressure down here in the mid-south, and there is our cold front that's going to be sweeping across the northern half of the country, bringing with it showers, thunderstorms, gusty winds, and a blast of some cooler air on the backside. That's really the only show in town this week, bringing a lot of rainfall along with it right through the middle of the country. And then it looks like next week we could see another system gather through parts of the south, something that we'll continue to track right here on Ag Day. That's a look around the country. Now let's take a look at the weather where you live. Rome, Georgia, mostly sunny and mild, a high near 78 degrees. 73 degrees in Freeport, Illinois, mostly cloudy with afternoon showers and a thunderstorm possible. Sunny and cooler in Grants, New Mexico, a high of 69.
AgDay, brought to you by Rumensin. Rumensin's quality, consistency, and efficiency make it the right choice for your cattle operation. Rumensin, trusted by generations.
It's estimated Hurricane Ian tore through about 4 million acres of farmland in Florida. But it's not just acres that have been impacted. One dairy farm lost 250 cows in the storm. It happened at Dakin Dairy Farms in Mayaca City. The farm is home to 4,000 cows. The owners tell Farm Journal's dairyherd.com that Ian battered them with 100+ mile-per-hour winds. Dakin says the number is likely to rise, and many have developed respiratory problems like pneumonia due to their prolonged exposure to the weather conditions during the storm. Despite experiencing the hurricane firsthand, the dairy is committed to not only making sure their cows are still well cared for, but they're also becoming a helping hub for their local community. Courtney Dakin, the farm's tour director, says they are taking in donations and sending them out, and she encourages anyone in need to reach out to them. The World Dairy Expo has crowned a new supreme champion. Her name is Oakfield Slalom Footloose ET, and she stole the show at the World Dairy Expo. Footloose is owned by Duckett Holsteins, Vieira Dairy, and Tim and Sharon Abbott of Rudolph, Wisconsin. They all took home the Gregory Blaska Memorial Trophy. Her winning streak began with several wins in the International Holstein Show, topping the 5-year-old dairy cow class and later named Senior Champion Female and then Grand Champion Female. Taking the title of Reserve Supreme Champion of World Dairy Expo was the Grand Champion Female of the International Jersey Show, Revendale VIP Eloise. That was owned by Vieira Dairy Farms of Hillmore, California. Still ahead, a North Dakota man is all about kindness, and he's doing it with popcorn. We'll meet him next in the country. When you think popcorn in North Dakota, you're reminded of Jerry Zimmerman. As Jody Kurzman reports from KFYR, the White Shield Man has been popping up perfect bags of popcorn in his basement since 2017. And he recently hit a pretty big milestone, his 10,000th bag of popcorn.
Jerry Zimmerman is popping up something pretty special. Since 2017, he's been making popcorn to give away. Jerry labels each bag with the date and time it was made, as well as the recipient's name. Known as Popcorn Jerry to many people, he's provided popcorn for celebrations, including birthdays, weddings, and funerals. He often drops off popcorn at police stations, schools, and hospitals.
Often people will say how happy it makes them, but my answer is always makes me happier.
Popcorn Jerry has made dozens of new friends thanks to his popcorn hobby.
Love people, and I'm never tired of meeting new people and making new friends.
He's got a soft spot for kids.
Probably the most precious things you have in this life are your children and your grandchildren.
Jerry has kept track of every bag he's popped. This is bag number 10,000. Jerry wanted this one to be a little extra special.
I wanted to be something that meant something to me, but more importantly to others. So I come up with the idea to make this 10,000 bag and dedicate it to all the parents that have lost their children.
James and Doris Wald are among those parents. Their son Jason died in an avalanche in 2015.
Here we go.
Jerry knows this popcorn won't bring Jason back.
Oh my goodness.
He hopes it might bring a little joy to his parents.
I wasn't expecting.
Doris wasn't expecting Jerry, this bag of popcorn, or our camera.
It means a lot, and he's kind of become part of the family, and I don't know, he's just a wonderful man.
A wonderful man. whose kindness is making the world a little better, one popcorn kernel at a time. Near White Shield, I'm Jody Kurzman, reporting for your News Leader.
Thank you, Jody. Jerry delivers most of his popcorn in person, but he's also been known to mail it to people in other states. That's all the time we have this morning. Thanks for watching. For all of us here at AgDay, I'm Michelle Rook. Have yourself a great day.